So this is the live set. We're going to do recording live. I love it. So it's going to be a little bit different this time. Mr. Benja will probably do more of the rundown for this special session of Show versus Business. And then we'll probably go into, do a truncated version of our normal set. Typically, we would go into the news feature and then a recap. Prior for this session, we'll get into the news. But Mr. Benja, I'll go ahead and kick it off. Are you ready?
I'm ready for you to kick it off, man.
Okay, everyone, welcome to Show versus Business, your weekly take on business from two very different perspectives. I'm your host, Theo, and on the line I have the man himself, Mr. Benja. What is up, man?
Live on Instagram, baby. I'm all in the Instagram mix now.
Yeah, man, we're trying to do a little something different. So we got an interesting show today. We're probably going to cover the news primarily today. There's a lot of interesting things with news. So we'll forego our normal topics on recap as well as features. But we'll get back into our normal podcast flow after next week. So with that said, Mr. Benja, how was your week?
Week was good and eventful. Basically, it was BenjaCon week. You were there. Raph was there. Jeff was there. Aubrey was there. All kinds of people were coming and showing up. So we got a few other last minute additions showing up. But I wanted to jump in this Instagram thing, and it happened. So now I'm fully comfortable with it. I'm an internet personality. I'll be an influencer in a month or so.
Mr. Benja's going to be out here selling something to you guys on the internet. So be on the lookout for some you undies or something like that as a sponsor. Watch out.
Yes, watch out for my click funnels.
No, BenjaCon was great. Definitely great sessions, and glad some small part Show versus Business could be a part of that. So, as you talked a little bit more around the artistic design, aspect of artistry. So, thank you for allowing business to kind of have a little slither of BenjaCon.
Hell yeah.
So I appreciate it. So, my week was good. Just spending time with family and friends. Dealing with a lot of things going on with family reunions this weekend. So it's really time to spend time with family. So that's good. So I'm actually at a secluded location right now. So that's why we're doing a remote session. So we'll get back into the normal flow probably next week. So I'm excited for it, man. Good stuff. So do you want to just jump into it, to the news?
Yeah, we'll jump into the news.
I love it, man. So let's get to it. So big news. Scarlett Johansson has sued Disney. This was huge news literally dropped the other day, and we're filming this on a Saturday. They basically dropped it on a Friday, right, which is usually a slow news time. But this is huge. Has a tons of implications, and we'll probably cover all of the different permutations here on this pod for this special news-centric podcast. But Mr. Benja, what was your take when you first saw the news that ScarJo is just a good soldier for the MCU has now sued Disney? What does that mean for the streaming wars?
My first thought was, all right, anytime I hear just a random news bit about somebody suing and I don't know why, I assume they're a hater, for some reason. That's just my, okay, they're a hater. They didn't like the way the film got received, the ratings or whatever. They're hating. But she seems to have a bit of a case, man. It's like, yeah, they were talking box office numbers, and I don't know if they just kind of did like some legal shimmy, like, oh, well, it wasn't really box office, it's streaming. So, well, that didn't count, but it's, so they could do all kinds of little tricks. But basically, she's saying, give me my bag. Y'all playing around, y'all playing games. You made a lot of money off Disney Plus, so maybe she wants just a cut of that. I'm not sure exactly what she wants in the end, but she fired the shots. So
I love it, man. This is the streaming wars are getting close to nuclear. When you have talent that is basically suing these companies, this is huge, man. So there's a lot of different angles we're going to cover, but typically, for those that are not in the business world, suing companies or anything is not really necessarily a bad thing, or you think, oh, because normal people just don't sue people, right? But from a business standpoint, there's a lot of reasons you do it. It's like leverage, right? You're trying
Mm-hmm.
to assert some kind of pressure. So a lot of times, a lot of these things are just announced and they go away because they get settled behind the scenes, right? Because hey, look,
Yeah.
I put more pressure on you to leverage, what I really want from you, because obviously she wasn't getting the comments or anything that she wanted back, right? If they did do some behind the scenes negotiations, it wasn't what her and her team wanted, so they did another just basically another tactic, right? To kind of get some attention,
Right.
and it worked, right? And so now once you cross that Rubicon, now Disney has to be more entrenched in their statements. If you saw the statements Disney said in so many words, it's like, well, this lawsuit is, without merit, right? In so many
Yeah.
words, right?
They,
And
they called
so,
it sad and distressing.
yes, sad and distressing. So what the hell? Get out of here with that mess, basically. And so, but they have to take that stance, and we'll get into why. But so like I said, people shouldn't get saying, hey, Scarlett Johansson a hater per se. But to be honest, if you look at her track record, she's been a loyal soldier for over 10 years with the MCU. She's basically the top, female, hero that they had. And she's at the end of that term. So you think about all these different strategic things. It's not like she's the beginning, of this whole, she's done. She's no longer going to be the Black Widow. So this is the perfect time to kind of, put something out there and say, hey,
Yeah.
I want my money. And so, let's get into it, man. There's a lot of different angles to this. So
All right.
let's talk about the money aspect of it, right? So we talked about on one of our podcasts. We said, hey, they made 60 million on the box office and 60 million at the at home, right, for the streaming service.
Mm-hmm.
So at the time, that was they were hype about that. It was good news, right? But then the
Yeah.
second weekend, we kind of hinted at it. She went down around, I think it was 67% from the box
Yeah.
office. So which is the biggest drop for a Marvel MCU movie.
Yeah.
That was not a good thing. I mean, so what were your thoughts when you heard that? Did you think, oh, this is going to be trouble?
I mean, I wasn't that hype over the movie, but usually with the whole box office run, after people see it the first week, it doesn't plummet off the face of the earth because everyone saw it. It plummets because not plummets. It drops just a little bit, and then the people who didn't get to see it the first week are like, "Oh, okay. Well, I heard some news about it. Didn't get a chance to see it. Let me go see it this week." Oh, it's 2 weeks down the line. I just got back home from my trip, to Baruba. Now let me go see it the third week or whatever, and you get this, you get a fall off, but not a plummet. And you start to wonder, oh, maybe the plummet was everybody who was going to see it in theaters saw it, and people on streaming, those were the people who would have gone to see it second, third, fourth, fifth week or whatever. So, yeah, I mean, those kind of numbers for a Marvel movie, and it wasn't a bad movie. It wasn't my thing. It wasn't the greatest ever.
It's passable. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, in normal circumstances, it would still get people coming in. Like Ant-Man and the Wasp didn't plummet like that,
Yeah,
So
yeah. So, but the problem is, we're still staying in the money section first. The problem
right,
with it was her back end participation was tied into a box office performance,
box
not
office.
streaming numbers. So when it plummeted so fast because of the box office, and I think they said there was something like she lost out on about $50 million, because if it had made, over 100 million, 200 million, whatever, there was going to be extra money that she got. And she said, which is not without merit. I probably could have made more if it wasn't on it wasn't released at the same time on streaming
Mm-hmm.
service, where two things happened, right? Number one, people who didn't feel like, going to the movie theaters, they just bought it on Disney Plus, but also piracy. There's actually, I heard, a pristine copy of the movie out there that people are watching for free on these piracy sites, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
I think she's saying that could have harmed her numbers, right? And so because that's the case, then I should probably participate in the Disney Plus money. And
Yeah,
they don't want that to happen, man.
yeah,
These companies don't want the talent to dip into that pool, man. Because that cash, think about it, that cash is basically all theirs, because everything else dealing with the box office, you got to pay, Paul, Peter, and Mary, right? You have to
yeah.
pay
So
this. just distributors and all that. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was just about to start listing, but you're already doing that. Go ahead.
Yeah, so you got to pay the theaters, right? You got to pay the distributors who kind of house the movie. You have to pay for marketing of that movie. You have to pay all this other stuff. And then if you go internationally, you don't even get all your money back from those international receipts, right? Because there's certain things that you get. So you may make, if for a movie that you put out there, you may make 40% of 40 cents on the dollar, right? Because you have so many other intermediaries you have to pay out. Where streaming service, that's all your money, man. So that 60 million they got for Black Widow, even though it's potentially one-time money from from watchers, that's pure 60 million, right?
Yeah.
Regardless. And so whereas the 60 million they got from the box office, they may have got, they're lucky, 25 million, right? So it's just more profitable if people understand that, right? You have your revenue and your costs, and
Yeah.
you just got more profit there. So anyway, so make a long story short, she's mad. She didn't get her money from the box office and says the streaming hurt her. And so this is absolutely a money conversation.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, no, yeah. I mean, it's just like, and this is what happens when you have a new technology or a new way of doing something. People are sitting around rubbing their chins like, hey, wait a minute. I don't have to pay those people. I can just pocket that extra whatever. I can do this over here and get extra money on my, hey. And, you know, ScarJo, this wasn't in the conversation. I can guarantee this I can almost guarantee this wasn't in the conversation back when they were writing up her deal for Black Widow, because it's been postponed for so long. That deal was probably written a long time ago. Nobody was thinking pandemic. Nobody was thinking, paying on Disney Plus. Disney Plus wasn't the hot shit like that. I mean, so.
Well, streaming wasn't thought of like this, right? And so what other angle can we take? So we talk about the money, right? So how has the pandemic, let's talk about that. This is the environment now, right? So we talked about the money. Let's talk about the environment. So because we are in a pandemic and theaters were shut down, there had to be new ways to release these movies, right? And we talked about movies getting stale. HBO Max did the unprecedented move and just say, hey, we're going to release all our 2020 movies on HBO Max, right? Because they wanted to drive streaming service up. When they did that, that caused so much pain, because now these people who said they thought, just like Scarlett Johansson, they had back end points. So instead of, instead of just like going ahead with their plans and saying, screw you, content creators, actors, producers, all that, they talked to all the actors or all the movies that were coming out in 2021, and they basically paid them as if they were a hit. So basically, Gal Gadot and Patty Jenkins got for Wonder Woman 1984. They got all their money as if they were $100 million movie or something like that. And so all the actors, Denzel got his 20 million, right? I guess whatever Dune that's coming out, they got their money. Will Smith got his money, and so that's how they were able to kind of get this deal done, and it was kind of unprecedented. So when that happened, that's the environment, right? We're going into. Disney was very coy. Disney never said any of their movies are going to be on Disney Plus, they're going to be in theaters and all this other stuff. And so because Scarlett Johansson really didn't have a clear sense of that, it seems like she was kind of waiting to see what they were going to do first. And then when the box office numbers then perform as they should, that was the timing of when she wanted to do her lawsuit. And so I think the environment, because Disney did not take care of her in the back end, then I think that's when it was time for her to kind of make this lawsuit because of the environment. And the pandemic has changed a lot of things. And this environment is showing that these streaming services are number one for these studios, but the content creators, they're realizing that they're losing out on that revenue. And that's not a good thing.
Yeah. Okay. So I have a question about this then. At some point along the way, I mean, like, this kind of lawsuit doesn't just sneak up on somebody. You hear rumblings about somebody being upset. A letter is sent to some guy. Somebody requests a meeting. Somebody voices their concerns, et cetera, et cetera. And this has probably been going on for quite a while, just the build up to this actual press release announcement, right? So why wouldn't, I mean, in my head, I'm thinking, oh, Disney's a nice place. Why wouldn't Disney say, I see you laughing over there.
No, why would business?
why wouldn't Disney say, well, hey, listen, we're going to do things this way. Here's the situation. We're going to cut a check for you. I mean, this is just, let's be Mr. Naive. Say Mr. Naive is just sitting down on his couch like, hey, why didn't Disney do that? And you say, what?
You're right. I don't have an answer for that because that would have avoided a lot of this consultation. Now they're thinking, look, this is, she's not the top of her game. She's a quote unquote A-lister, maybe that's borderline. She's not like, someone that could maybe cause a lot of problem for her. And the fact that she's been so loyal through all this, right? For 10 years, not really complained too much about the role, even though we saw the role evolve through different directors. And so, and she finally got her solo movie. But, I guess they didn't see this coming. But so I don't know, man. I mean, businesses, there's processes in place when you have a big corporation. I'm listening to this podcast and I saw this TV show called Dr. Death, and they kind of talked about this. This doctor who was basically mangling people. He was not properly trained for spinal surgery. So he was going from hospital to hospital,
Yeesh.
botching up people's backs and in some cases killing them. And, the system broke down because the first hospital that saw that when he butchered, two people, they just let him pass on. And I think because they had processes in place, because, when you get lawyers involved, liability and things like that, they say, well, you know what? It's just better just to just let him pass on so he us later, right? And that's just a better point instead of thinking about the people element. So I say all that to say that I think this is similar, right? They just say, hey, bigger picture, we don't want to set the precedence that if we give her this money as payout, then maybe everyone else will come after us, And so we want to show that, United Front, we ain't paying y'all this streaming money right now. And so I think that was more of a protection. It's kind of like I'll stab you before you shoot me kind of move, So basically, I do something to hurt you
Yeah.
before you kind of come after me bigger, because they figure if she, they paid her out, then all the other actors that are part of these deals, they're gonna be like, they want something similar. I want that Scarlett Johansson money. I want that streaming service money. So I think they had to kind of have a tough stance.
Yeah.
But I agree 100%. And before we move on to that, I think this transition to another thing. Who also agrees with you that she should have got paid out is Kevin Feige, and that's the interesting thing. Kevin Feige has mentioned that he's been sad that she was not paid what she should have been paid. And so what ramifications does that have for the MCU, man, and Disney right now?
Eesh, man, you wonder in these situations. It's like you hope they're taking care of your boy, and you figure he's being taken care of. They're doing everything for him. But at some point, and this has been a recurring theme with Disney in particular, even before Chapek got in place, this has kind of been a recurring theme with Disney, where it's like, okay, once we understand your brand, move aside Mr. Creator guy, we've got this, and we're just going to keep running the brand. And if they're going to play that game with Feige, I don't know. Maybe he has other ideas. Maybe he's ready to walk. I don't know. Maybe Chapek and him don't get along. So it's really curious. But usually, hopefully, when you have somebody like this, you don't let him go. You just kind of like, listen, anybody else can go, but we have our one main guy, Feige. Let's keep him happy. Problem, I think, is Feige is attached to so much of the talent in a very grassroots way. So you mess with ScarJo, you mess with Feige, and it gets like this.
Yeah, I mean, he made promises to these actors. He's built these relationships with them. They trusted them, when they were first starting the MCU. So I think he feels some kind of kinship with them, right? Because no one knew this was going to work, right? Just say, hey, come on, Robert Downey Jr., come on, Scarlett Johansson. I mean, you guys are not A-listers, but look, if you go on this journey with me, we can maybe do something interesting. And he did. I mean, he did something amazing,
Yeah.
right? We all saw Endgame. So to piss off Feige, though, that shows me that this new administration under Bob Chapek, right? I mean, he ain't messing around, man. He's kind of like, he's coming in, putting his stamp on stuff, man. And, there have been rumors and rumblings that this guy from the parks, he came from the parks. The parks are not being run as well as they have been in the past. And that's where he came from. And so now he's over the whole Disney brand. Man, to have this already, one of your major stars suing you, that doesn't look good, man. His tenure, man, is looking pretty shaky right now. Bob Chapek.
Yeah, I mean, no, this is kind of literally the show side versus the business side now. Um, and we'll see how it plays out, man. I don't know what to make of the future. Hopefully they iron it out because, I mean, they got my favorite properties on there pretty much.
Well, I mean, Kevin Feige is the talent, right? And he's shown that he's good with talent. And so if he's upset, do you think he walks? And what does that mean? I mean, from a show standpoint, right? If Feige says, you know what, I don't need this, I'm gonna do my own thing. What would that mean for quality content coming from MCU, man? Or does he go to the DCU? I mean, what? Let's play.
No, no, no.
What if? Let's play. What if?
I want Feige all up in Millar world.
That's funny. Oh, that's funny.
So it's like, hey, Jupiter's Legacy isn't so bad now.
He's made his reputation on that. He knows Marvel in and out. So if he no longer has the MCU, what does Kevin Feige do, right? I mean, that's going to be an interesting question. Now, I don't think he's going to walk or anything yet, but I don't know, man. If he does, we're going to mark this as the point where he decided to move on and do something different. And he's got the relationships, he's got the brand recognition to do something, but what does that look like? I guess that's the question I'm posing to you as a creative.
Yeah, so I've seen, people at that level, they usually take a kind of a sideways jump into something else that's big because in the space of hero movies, where are you going to go? It almost doesn't even make sense. If he was to do something like the DCEU, it'd have to be, I'm coming in, redoing everything. We're about to drop a bomb on the industry. It's going to be super huge. You can't just do kind of the same or less if you're going to be on Feige's level. Or you skip town to a different industry. So all of a sudden, Feige moves over into maybe games, or Feige moves over into I don't know, the world of books, and he creates his own competition to Audible, because he's got all these book authors and whatever. I don't know. But, you make a sideways jump to somewhere. But what is that? Jeez, man. Millar world. That's all I got.
I don't know why that's so funny to me, man. Because he's so Millar is such a hack, not a hack,
Yeah.
such a what's the word, man? Just a unabashed, just self promoter, and his the stuff he created didn't work well, so they're gonna bring someone in to just take over his property and make it better. That's gonna be fun.
Yeah, it's just like, look, you got your name up there, you calm down.
Exactly. So, anyway, so this is fascinating, man. I mean, I know we kind of covered it from the money aspect, from the show aspect, the long-term implications, but I'll be honest with you, I think this is the beginning, right? Because I think these streaming wars are heating up now. And I said it's going nuclear because now that she kind of create that first salvo, it's kind of like a mutually assured destruction. So when she says this, how many other content creators, who are under the Marvel contract, they say, hey, if you're going to put, like, for instance, Tom Holland, right, with, SpiderMan No Way Home, or what's the next one? Or is it No Way Home? Or I can't remember.
Yeah, that's it.
But he'll be like, if you're going to release it streaming, I want some of that streaming money, right? Or Black Panther, right? They come out with Black Panther. It's got to be on streaming because, Delta variant of COVID or Lambda variant, right? They're going to want money. So I think they're going to have to figure out a new way to kind of figure out how the content, how these creators are going to get compensated in this new streaming world. And you're right, this is a new technology. And I think that's the challenge. And they know, from a business standpoint, that's going to eat into that cost, right? Because that's strictly profit, right? They're not even thinking about that. They're like, oh yeah, we do other stuff, but this is like gold, man. But now that the content creator is going to get in there, Oh crap, man, they're gonna mess up our, our profit motive. We
Yeah.
can't. That's gonna be the challenge.
And, from if you look at other precedents, in like music, for example, what music does is, I guess it's a considerable. You can consider the parallels between their streaming and what movie streaming might do in the future. But yeah, you have to set up these rules early, because once they're set up, then that's just how it is, and people go along with it. So they're going to fight tooth and nail to keep all their money in the beginning. And with streaming, a lot of people were complaining that, hey, I can't these I get like 10,000 streams and it's, not that much money. What do you, this, I don't understand. I'm not getting paid as much. Well, the music industry got in there and said, this is how it goes. Here's how much we're going to pay out through Spotify, Amazon, et cetera, et cetera. And now everybody's kind of like, okay, that's how it is. So my guess is that Disney and possibly other studios are trying to figure this out very quickly. Like, well, hey, if Disney
They
can do
have
it,
to.
we can do it too. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I have a solution potentially. I mean, I was thinking about this the other
Oh,
day. Yeah, I know. Yeah, right here, show versus business, man. Listen to us. Hey, Kevin Feige, give us a call, but we got an idea. I think so. These streaming services, if you look at their multiples, they get more revenue. Excuse me, they get more valuation on their stock price. If they're in streaming. Look at Netflix. I think they're like 80 times revenue or something like that. So basically, relative to what they're worth, their stock price shows that they should be worth 80 times that revenue, right? Or how much they get on a yearly basis from consumers. So I would say, is there a way where, these great content creators who they want to have a relationship with, just make them equity owners, right? Give them a percentage of the company, right? So now, small, it doesn't have to be a big percentage, but shit, 1% of $1 billion, that ain't hurting, man. You ain't hurting. So I would just say that,
yeah.
if you're looking at ways to kind of how you compensate them fairly, compensate them based on the stock price, because basically there's a premium for streaming services because everyone knows this is where it's going, right? Content is going to be it's going to be more prolific. It's going to be on streaming, and the people who create content that people want to go see, like a Shonda Rhimes, right, or like
Yeah.
maybe Robert Downey Jr. Those are the ones you want to keep in the fold, like the old studio system. So you give them a piece of the company, and so they can stay a part of it. I think that may be the solution.
And you have the data.
Good point. There you go. There you go. You say, oh, everybody loves Robert. Look, so Robert Downey Jr. He has a production company. He did that Sweet Tooth. It got just released for a second season, right? So if I were
Okay.
Netflix, I'll go talk to him and say, hey, Robert Downey Jr., man, why don't you just make Netflix your home, man? We can give you some equity participation. We give you data. We can help you create, more content, and the fact that your content will be seen internationally. So I think that would be huge. I mean, look at what's her name, Shonda Rhimes, right? She had Bridgerton, so she just re-upped on her deal. She was already
Mm-hmm.
making she had a $300 million deal. They just re-upped it because she made a hit. I mean, of all the creators, they I think it was her, the guy Kenya Barris who did Blackish, and Ryan Murphy who did all those he did all those crazy movies, OJ versus the OJ series, things like that.
Yeah.
Shonda Rhimes was the only one that did a successful series, and so now they re-upped her deal. So anyway, I say all I have to say. I think there's a solution here. They just got to think creatively. So if you guys want to know more, go check us out on Show versus Business, man. We got a ton of these ideas.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway,
Podcast available
anything
on
else?
all platforms.
Exactly. So speaking of which, man, anything else on the news front that we want to cover briefly?
So we were talking about Feige possibly, you know Feige, somebody's not just going to take this sitting down. You got to fight this stuff out. That's how Hollywood works. You fight stuff out. So people have been wondering, well, what's up with No Way Home, SpiderMan, and all these other things? Somebody like Feige could start like putting a little pressure on him by like saying, by messing up the process just a little bit.
Uh-oh.
And people have been wondering, Spider-Man No Way Home, where's the promotion been? They don't have the posters out, and a couple movie theaters scattered around the country have created their own fake posters, which is, it's like, hey, there's a Spider-Man No Way Home poster. Is that fan art? Yes. It's like, what? So I don't know. Have you heard anything about that movie lately?
I have not, man. We just hyped that we're going to see it's going to have some multiversal elements where we're going to see other Spider-Man in there. Tobey Maguire and of course
Hmm.
Andrew Garfield, who played Spider-Man previously. But that's it, man. We have not heard. You're right. We have not heard anything, man. And so it's very
And that's
curious.
well, let's see. It's November, right?
Yeah, November,
And we're in August already.
dude. This is crazy. Yeah. So we saw Eternals. Eternals is going to be in, I think, in the fall as well. So we already
Hmm.
seen the trailer for that. So
We get
uh,
trailers.
I,
We got interviews.
yeah.
We've got things happening, and that's how the media machine works. I don't know. I hope if you're watching this show, that uh, you've actually seen the machine in the process where actor shows up on a talk show, teaser comes out, some fan art comes out, some production art comes out, etc. All this stuff builds up slowly over a year ahead of time. In many instances. So you just get that nice rolling build up. Spider-Man No Way Home, no way to market. I don't know.
I love it, man. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting, man. I don't know what's happening right now, and I think it's also predicated on what's happening in the industry. I mean, just in the world right now with rising cases of, COVID in certain areas. People are not, they just. I don't know if you saw the latest CDC announcement where even if you're vaccinated, you still have to wear a mask indoors. So it's just a lot
Yeah.
of confusion, right? It's like because of what's happening still. So I think we're going to see probably, to be fair, I don't think we're ever shut down again, but we'll see some things change where mandated vaccinations, before we can kind of get back to normal. Probably, to be honest with you, probably like, maybe spring of next year. So we
Mm-hmm.
may see some slowdown in some of these movie releases again. So the streaming wars will be back on, unfortunately, but it is what it is, man. But I
Yeah.
would love to see Spider-Man No Way Home. I would love to see what's happening with it, but we have no marketing at all. So that is
It,
interesting.
and quick question: is anybody else doing the day in release, or when it's released, you can buy it Premiere Access? I don't know if anybody else is even proposing any type of plan like that.
No, no. I mean, Paramount, what they do, they have that 45-day window. Like
Right.
me and my wife saw
Mm-hmm.
what's that movie that just came out in the theaters? Quiet Place
Infinite.
Part Two. Well, Infinite was just garbage.
Okay.
It wasn't that good, but it just dropped on Paramount. They didn't even put it on movie theaters. But Quiet Place Part Two, that was in the movie theaters. They made a little money, and then they had 45 days, and then went to Paramount Plus. Um, I think the only thing you're right, Disney said the only movie that they, which is the one that just released Friday, was the Jungle Cruise, right, with The Rock and Emily Blunt, and that's the last
Mm-hmm.
one they said that officially it's going to be a premiere access, but we don't know. To your point, I think that's it. And the HBO Max is just rounding out the contract. They still got several, like Suicide Squad will be on HBO Max, right? King Richard, the new Will Smith movie about Serena and Venus Williams, will be popping up here in the fall. But those are already been set in stone, so those will still be coming out at the same time, day and date release, right? But that's it. I don't know any other studios doing the same thing. So they're trying to put that genie back in the bag, right? Oh no,
Yeah.
no, no, wait, go see in the theaters first. But I don't know. Something tells me that we're still going to see some of these movies come out on streaming at the same time they come out at the
Yeah.
movies.
Yeah. That's interesting. And one of the things I've seen on like the indie circuit, the independent filmmakers, is they'll have like a release. And there used to be this thing where everybody would go to like the neighborhood theater, and a couple people would eat wine and cheese and watch this, artsy film, and they'd all laugh and go home. Um, but now that with streaming, it's like everybody sends out announcements. Hey, there's a new film. Watch it online, and then we'll talk about it in this chat room, and it'll be great. So people go in and click buy, and you buy it the first day it comes out and stream it or whatever, and everybody watches it and talks about it. Um, and I was always kind of surprised that I didn't see more of a push of that. Like, you log into Amazon and it's like, hey, you can buy it, pay now, it'll be ready for you, watch it this day, and get some special extras online through Amazon or whoever. So I don't know. I'm just waiting to see all these options play out because, as you said, man, streaming wars. People are going to start pulling out guns you didn't expect.
It's coming. It's coming. It's just too many. But think about it, man. There's just too many different, you know, middlemen right now, right? They got to get their piece, right? I mean, this whole industry, these movie theater chains, these distributors, right? The reason why they have a window so that the theaters can make their money, recoup their money, right? And so it's coming. I think you're right. There's all kind of innovative things we can do when you drop movies on streaming service and bundling and things you can do like that, or buying movies directly, but it's just like anything, man, it's a process. You got to untangle all this crap that's been built over decades, right? That made sense at the time, but now we have new technology, makes no sense whatsoever. And so they're trying to figure that out. So to your point,
Like removing hair from pipes, just
exactly, man. So nah, man. What else, man? What I think we had
so
talked
yeah.
about. What else is on the news docket?
Speaking of new movies still rolling through and coming out, and Warner Brothers, well, not Warner Media, now we've got Suicide Squad about to drop. And everybody's all excited about it. It looks to be like it's going to be a good film, you know. And I don't know, for whatever reason, James Gunn is talking about he's tired of superhero movies, and people need to do something
Sure.
different. Look, buddy, I don't know where you've been getting your money from for the past couple of years, but
I know. Literally biting the hand that feeds you, but okay.
yeah, exactly. But it's gotten enough buzz that that your boy David Ayer, the director on the first Suicide Squad, says that I forgot the exact quote, but he was basically like, "Well, this movie is nothing like I intended. It's not what we put forth in the writers' room. I don't even recognize it. There's a whole different cut of this version of this movie available."
Oh
And
no.
he just started putting out sprinklings of basically what sounded like release the Ayer cut, like
Oh no. Oh
Zack
no.
Snyder. But it's like, come on, man.
So, do you know anything about David Ayers, where he came from? What's his claim to fame?
Not I don't know
So,
much about it. You're the Hollywood guy. You know more about that side.
yeah, he wrote Training Day, the Denzel
Mm-hmm.
Washington and Ethan Hawke movie back in the day, and so obviously he won I think he won an Academy Award for his writing of that movie, but I gotta research that. But so anyway, that was his big thing. Then he came out with all these gritty crime movies where basically a corrupt cop. There was one with called I forgot what it's called, but with Jake Gyllenhaal, he was a corrupt cop, just doing dirty shit, just in the streets of L.A., right, just do dirty stuff.
Yeah.
And so then he switched over to directing, and so I think he did Iron Man 3, which everybody kind of liked, and it was pretty good. And he did some other movies that
I didn't know
was
that.
pretty watching. Yeah, so he's been around for a minute, and so he got tapped on the shoulder to do the gritty, Suicide Squad. And let's be honest, it's still I think it made. Oh man, shoot, I should know this. I think it made close to $1 billion. I don't think it made $1 billion, but it was panned critically, and people did. I think they like Holly. What's her name? Margot Robbie's portrayal of
Mm-hmm.
Harley Quinn, but everyone else they were just like they could. It was just basic, right? You could tell there was a lot of cuts done to it. So but it still made money. So obviously it got a sequel. And then James Gunn came in to kind of help with the sequel, and so now everybody's loved it again. So anyway, make a long story short, I think he's one of those guys, just a self promoter, and I get it. I mean, but his real probably focus is really gritty crime drama. He did a recent one of you saw called The Tax Collector with Shia LaBeouf, and it's just basically always set in L.A. It's always based on Mexican culture and that gang culture. So it's kind of interesting. And so now he's trying to get into these comic book movies, and he's trying to claim that, hey, you know what? I've been in these comic book movies for a minute, bro. So let me know. I'm gritty too, man. I'm like Snyder, but I don't think he has the same visionary. You know, for whatever you think about Zack Snyder, man, he definitely is a comic book guy, right? The way he does the hero
Yeah.
shots and majestic stuff. David Ayers is not that. He's more like, hey, this is like handheld, down the street with the cops beating up, gang members, right? And it's like,
Yeah,
dude, how's that cinematic, man? I mean, the story is fine, but you're not very cinematic, if that makes sense.
yeah. No, yeah. There are a few comic properties that I think really jump in my head that say, "Oh, this fits him." Maybe a few, Kingpin Punisher stories. Maybe,
Oh yeah,
The
remember that show?
Question
Remember that comic
from
book?
DC.
Oh, you remember that comic book, 100 Bullets, back in the day? That was great. That would have been perfect for him.
I never peeped that one.
Man, that was good, man. You got to go check it out. 100 Bullets. High level, basically, a guy shows up at these random people's door, gives them a traceable gun and 100 bullets, and say you can do whatever you want with it. So that's the premise, but then opens up the door to a whole world of crime, underground, secret society of murderers. And so, very great show, very great series on comic books. And so, David Ayers
Interesting.
would be perfect for something like that. Yeah, David Ayers, Brian, man, Arzello, I think his name is. He's crazy writer, but he did that. It was awesome.
I love how you keep these names and all that,
I don't
man.
know, man. I don't know how I
I
do
love it.
it. So yeah, so Brian, yeah, man, go check out 100 Bullets. But I think David Ayers would be perfect for that, man, because that's that street level kind of gritty crime stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah. But do we want to see a cut of the Suicide Squad with him? I don't know.
Not really. Yeah.
Exactly,
So,
exactly.
and speaking of directors, Blade has found a director. So people have been wondering, what Marvel's going to end up doing, where they're going with things, and it looks like this turn of Marvel may be a little more weird and horror than we expected, and you can tell by the way they're putting out their stories from Loki to the ideas about Blade that are kind of floating out there. So I think this is just them peppering up and letting people know that like, hey, we still got some bite coming through. Yeah, pun
Yeah,
intended.
we'll see. We'll see. The directors on that, I mean, they came from Bad Boys for Life. I mean, they're definitely action directors. They're like two brothers, but we'll see. I hope they do, man. But Blade was basically, it was the first Marvel movie that we didn't really realize it was a Marvel movie, right? But I would love to see Mahershala Ali, do his thing. And so he's definitely a great actor. He's a two-time Academy Award winner, so definitely he's a great actor. So I would love to
Yeah.
see what he can do with the character.
Do you remember what do you remember the Blade comics or the Midnight Suns?
Yeah, yeah, not me. I mean, I knew about them. I did watch the movies, but did
Mhm.
you read the comics at all with Blade? I mean, with Blade at all? Did you read any of them?
Yeah. It's like he's attached to other people. Like you don't just get you might have a Wolverine series, but that's going to attach to the rest of the X-Men. You may get like an Aquaman series, but that's going to attach to the Justice League, just because of how they're structured. So when you get Blade, it should be attached to Ghost Rider, Mephisto, start getting into a lot of the demonic and weird side of Marvel. And there was this group called the Midnight Suns, and
Yeah,
they
that's
went
right.
around wrecking shop. And if they start announcing that kind of stuff, then we're on a whole new playing field of just vampire hunting, ghouls trapped in human bodies, running around messing people up, um, you know, vampires and stuff, and vampire hunters. So yeah, it gets weird, man.
Yeah, yeah. So the DC has their own version of that with John Constantine and Lucifer and all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of interesting to see MCU kind of getting Blade and trying to bring him into the forefront, and hopefully, to your point, we'll start seeing some. Well, there, Sony's doing Mobius, right? The Living Vampires,
Yeah,
so that's kind of in that same vein. So yeah, I mean, I'm excited about it. I mean, we'll see. I mean, it's Marvel, so you know, and this multiverse thing, man, this madness of
yeah,
multiverse, it could be anything, man. It's gonna
yeah,
be weird.
yeah. I like it. I like you. It's so de facto. It's like, yeah, it's Marvel. Wait, calm down.
Well, we'll see. Feige, we just talked
It's
about it. I don't
it's
know. We might be on the
it's
way
like when
out.
somebody, yeah, it's like when someone orders pizza. It's like pizza. Oh yeah, it's pizza, man. It's coming through. Can't get mad at it.
Exactly. Yeah, I can't get mad at it. So we'll see what they're going to do,
Yeah,
man. So
that's pretty much it, man. On the news front, except for Kevin Smith may have played his last card, unless I don't know why the internet's still rumbling about it, because he keeps fighting back and he's digging himself deeper into the fan
I
hole.
know, man.
So,
I mean, he just, it's so sad, man. I mean, who didn't love Kevin Smith back in the day, man? Obviously, Clerks and Chasing Amy and just putting all these little, sprinkle comic book stuff in that. And he's very well versed in that, right? But for some reason, along the way, he just lost his way, man. I mean, just the reviews he has, the glowing reviews for movies that we all know are trash, right? And that was one thing.
yeah.
The fake crying about these movies, how great they are. I mean, it's just he just lost all credibility, and then now this is a travesty, man. I mean, this Masters of the Universe, man. It's pretty bad. I mean, we talked about it briefly. We didn't really get into it, but I mean, this whole bait and switch. I think that's really what's helped hurting people. I mean, it's like, dude, don't say,
Yeah,
don't
exactly.
put He-Man out there. Don't do all that. I mean, I get what you did with the title. So, that's why we always say Masters of the Universe. But when you saw the trailers and the promos, it was all about He-Man. And you're like, oh shit, this is a
Yeah.
new He-Man movie. And it's not at
And
all.
yeah, and they've had numerous interviews where he's saying something that really sounds one way, like, oh man, if you love He-Man, you're gonna, and the crowds are cheering. He's saying stuff like, hey, people think this is just going to be about Tila. No, man, there are many players in this game. It's going to be about such and such. It's going to be about Fisto. It's going to be about, Battle Cat. It's going to be about all these great characters. We got a great show coming. And it's like,
Moss Man's
okay,
gonna have a prominent role. Moss Man's gonna be a prominent role in this.
it, yeah, Moss Man ain't worth dirt.
Oh man.
Yeah,
I mean,
man.
I think that's what did him in, man. Just to be honest with people, hey, let's just look. This is a continuation of the story. I mean, He-Man is in here, but he's not what we focused in on. I mean, just be honest with people, man.
Yeah,
I think it at least will put us in the right frame of mind. I thought the animation was good. I thought the promos were good. So I think everybody thought that was great, and people were excited about it. But once you saw it and how they just disrespected what came before somewhat, I think that's when a lot of folks just got turned off. And so, I mean, I don't know, man. I think he's done, dude. I mean, at least for a while.
and he doubled down. He didn't say, like, you know what? Listen, I was trying to tell this kind of story and it happened this way. If you're into this, I really think you should take another look at it and try to look at it from this point of view, et cetera, et cetera. He didn't do that. He went the route of, I didn't lie. You guys are misreading it. This is all bunk. And yeah, he's just like clowning on people. And like some of his best fans are like, why are you doing this? I mean, I still like you and I could actually like what you did, but why are you fighting this way when you clearly said before something else? So it's just weird. Don't fuck up in Hollywood too much.
Dude, well, just be genuine, man. I mean, you're claiming you're the ultimate fan, and you're trying to speak for the fan, and you should know you don't set
Yeah.
expectations like that, right? I mean, so people can go on any journey.
Yeah.
You just don't set up expectations like that. That's all.
He said he really didn't like it when he was a kid.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, he said he watched all the episodes, but he always wanted it to be a little something different. He's like, yeah, man, I wanted this to happen. I wanted this, and I felt like I was hate watching it sometimes because it wasn't really what I wanted. So you have a guy who has incredible knowledge of the property, but wants to do it a certain way. So
which is
we see
fine. I
this.
mean,
We
I
see
think
this coming out. Yeah,
this is fine, but at least don't, put it just out there so blatantly in the promos. Why would you do that? I mean, just say, look, this, a new take
Yeah.
by Kevin Smith. I mean, just be real with people, man. I think we would have went down a journey. At least give it a shot. If it's not for me, it's not for me. But don't try to use nostalgia to try to get us back in on the show, knowing you're gonna do a bait and switch and double down
Yeah.
even in the TV show.
Yeah, exactly. Did you watch past episode 1?
Oh no, dude, I'm done.
Yeah. Not a bad move.
And it's a part 2.
And now he's
That's
promising.
that part.
Now he's promising stuff for the part 2. Yeah, exactly. He's promising stuff for this part 2, and he's saying if you wanted He-Man, you'll get more He-Man than you could ever ask for in episode 6. And we're like, what? So I don't even know what that means. I figure it may be a super flashback, or something weird may happen where the spirit of He-Man gets split from the second part. So now I want to watch the second part just to kind of see what happens.
No,
I'll do it so you don't have to.
No, you're just gonna hate watch it, man. Don't do it. Please don't, man. Just don't do it, man. It's just I don't know, man. Just trolling folks, man. I mean, it's just I can't get down with that, man. I hate trolling, and so this is the ultimate troll. Well, you need to watch the next season, part 2, because I'm gonna have more He-Man than you ever saw before. So instead of 5 minutes of He-Man, we're gonna get 6 minutes of He-Man. I mean, it's just like, dude, get the hell out of here.
Is there aside from Filthy Liar, is there a word or like a film term for the bait and switch where, like, I mean, because I've seen that in artsy films where it's like you think it's one thing and then you kind of go on a different journey, and then outside the theater where everybody's eating their wine and cheese, they're kind of like, that was a very interesting turn, that blah blah blah, and it works in that sense. But I've seen this in popular media now. You're going to flip the script and it goes weird.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I haven't seen it before. I mean, we've seen it before. We've definitely seen it before. Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm getting delayed here, so it looks like the internet gods are not happy with me right now.
It's okay. We did our thing this week, and it was definitely good trying this new thing out. I think the audio came through pretty clean, so we'll see what we can do. We'll definitely have it up on the podcast stream.
I love it, man. So you want to tell everybody where we can listen to Show versus Business on their wherever they listen to podcasts. This has been a weekly take on show business from 2 very different perspectives. I love talking to you about this, Mr. Benja. Anything else they can where they can listen to us and find out more about what we're talking about here?
No, if you're on Instagram, you can obviously go to our profile. Make sure you go there, follow along, and you'll be able to find our link tree over there where you can catch us on YouTube, Amazon, Pandora, Podbean. I know I've double checked on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. We're all in there. So usually we have a longer show. As Theo mentioned earlier, we have a longer show with a news rundown. We go over some nostalgia about the industry. We go into a feature story where we drill down in some individual topic that's concerning us and is out in popular media. And then we usually have recaps of popular shows. There isn't much happening in terms of shows this week, so we didn't have a recap. And we wanted to try out this Instagram thing. So thanks, everybody, for joining on. I think I covered it all, Theo.
I love it. Well, Mr. Benja, have a great day. Take care.
Yeah, you too, man. Peace.
Thank you for listening to Show versus Business, your weekly take on pop culture. Please subscribe to this podcast at Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever else you listen to podcasts. Please like and subscribe to our Instagram page, Show versus Business, to get exclusive behind-the-scenes takes and upcoming episodes. Talk to you next time.
Finish him!